Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different. A new series that we haven't done before, a funny series because I plan on doing this once a year, so once at every age. And I wanted to start with my skin at 28 because obviously that's how old I am now. And I thought this would just be a fun way of documenting sort of the journey of my skin and how things change, because a lot has changed in the past few years. And my skin, the issues that I'm dealing with now are just like completely different than the issues I had to deal with when I was younger. So normally I'll just talk about how my skin is during that given year, but because this is the first video in the series, I thought it might be useful or helpful to go back and just talk about my skin a little bit and sort of the journey my skin has been on to get to where it is now. So growing up, I was really lucky because I didn't really have any major skin issues. I didn't have teenage acne. I didn't have to deal with acne scarring. I didn't have to deal with redness. I was lucky, like genetically, it was just luck in terms of like not having to deal with any of that stuff. I wore makeup when I was in high school, even a little bit when I was in middle school, but nothing crazy. Like I think in high school I enjoyed wearing makeup, so I definitely like bought makeup and but I think it was more like going through phases like teens do. So like one week I would put on a lot of foundation, and then the next week I would just be wearing a lot of bronzer, and I probably looked crazy, but it was never like, I never was like super consistent with anything enough to like do any damage to my skin, My mom was always really big on me wearing SPF, so I do think that like when I was in high school, I wore SPF. I always pretty well took my makeup off before I went to sleep. Like, I just took good care of my skin, but, for me, it wasn't anything out of the norm, like I would wash my face at night, take off my makeup, but never because of any issues. It was just sort of what my routine was. It wasn't until I want to say about 2009 I started working as a performer on a cruise ship, which was super cool, but I had to wear makeup every single day, and like stage makeup, so not just like, oh, mascara and like, a little bit of like BB cream. Like we're talking like really like heavy foundation, heavy powders, eyelashes every single day. And there were days where I would have to put on and then take off makeup like 2 or 3 times a day, like for a show in the morning and then off, like taking it off and putting it on again. And like my skin just went through a lot during that period. Around that same time, I started making some really bad choices. And like, it's so funny, like everyone makes bad decisions in their life. My bad decisions were like mostly had to do with my face and my skin, which was crazy. I tanned a few times, or like would lay out in the sun without any SPF on my face, which sounds harmless enough, but is probably like the dumbest thing I could have done. There was one day in particular where we were like really close to the equator. I think I think we were like west, so like we were in Mexico. We probably had just been to Cabo or something, and I was out there for like hours. It was so dumb, so dumb. I would never recommend that. Anyway, so originally I thought like when my face was peeling, like, oh, it's fine, like, it's like when your skin peels, like it'll be fine in a few weeks or something. But little did I know that I gave myself some skin damage. Sun damage is really tricky in that it doesn't just go away. Like your face will start to peel and it'll look like your face, like your tan is peeling off, but skin damage goes so deep and just like completely, like it's almost like a scar, and that's how it's sort of acted in the past few years. I have, especially now, like I will obviously like always wear SPF, always, and that will always help diminish the hyperpigmentation that you get from sun damage. But I have tried to like use different products and anything that'll help diminish the pigmentation, the hyperpigmentation. There are lasers, there are like special facials you can get done to help diminish the hyperpigmentation. I've done a few of them. I've never done any of like the lasers. I'm sure they would help, but I have had a few facials that have like concentrated on the hyperpigmentation. I think some of the products I've used have helped and just like constantly taking care of it and staying hydrated. And again, like just wearing SPF has helped tenfold because it hasn't allowed the sun to make it worse, if that makes sense. Having normal skin growing up and like not having to deal with any issues, I feel like I did use a lot of different products, and I think it did, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, I think it did make my skin tolerant toward a bunch of different products. So even now, like, even though I have more like concerns regarding my skin, I can still kind of bounce around between products, which is nice. So I can't say that there's any one product specifically that's helped with the hyperpigmentation, but it's been like, it is nice to kind of play around with a couple different products and never to feel like too like crazy about like one brand or one specific product, just in case like it stops being made. Anyway, so hyperpigmentation, a huge thing that I've had to deal with, and sun damage is obviously still something that, you know, is a concern being 28. So I had that, and then it wasn't until like super recently, like I'm talking like the past like 2-3 years, that my skin went from being super normal and just like run of the mill to being so dehydrated and so dry, which is so interesting to me because, you know, and like I'm not an expert by any means, but like I drink a lot of water. I feel like I stay really hydrated. Like obviously like I'm a dancer and I am a Pilates instructor and I work out, and like so I'm always like constantly, I feel like, replenishing, like always taking in fluids, and it's just such a different, I think such a different thing when your skin is dehydrated versus like when your body is. Anyway, so these past few years living in, I don't know if it's been living in the city or like our apartment being so dry, like my skin just, oh, so dry. So now I have to like, you know, I find that pretty well every product I use, I really make sure that it's for dehydrated, like to moderate to severe dehydration of the skin, because I'm telling you, like these past few years of having to deal with like super dehydrated skin, like first of all, it just looks so dull. It takes on a very like dull, uneven look, and it also like makes your fine lines and wrinkles like seem that much more of an issue. When my skin is hydrated and plump and like I'm using products with a lot of hyaluronic acid in it, I do find that like my face, like, you know, my fine lines and my wrinkles are a little bit plumper. My skin just looks a little bit healthier. I mean, obviously like it is a little healthier when I'm using products that, you know, start to help with the dehydration. But it's just so crazy that like literally in the past like few years and like at 28, like that is something that like I've never had to deal with, and now is like such a huge concern of mine. So I've also found at 28, like I'm sort of on the cusp now of like aging. Like obviously I'm aging every year, but like I find that like it never really like was a real concern. Like sometimes I would use anti-aging products, but like it was just fun, you know? But now it's like, no girl, you need to use your anti-aging products because like it's right around the corner. Like your wrinkles are like, when I was younger, like you could use like anti-aging stuff and like, you know, that little fine line would like totally disappear like magic. And now it's just like, you know, you use your anti-aging stuff because you know that like if you stop, like those wrinkles are gonna become like little canyons on your face, and like you need to use it. At 28, I'm definitely dealing with more fine lines, more like little wrinkles, nothing like too crazy just yet, but I think that that's sort of like what you can do in terms of preventative care. Like now I think it's appropriate to like really use products that target those like fine lines and wrinkles, just so they don't become worse in the future. Also, again, the dark circles underneath my eyes, and I find like the best thing with that is just making sure that I'm like getting enough sleep at night, making sure like I'm managing my stress well, making sure that I'm eating well. I feel like all of that sort of like what you put in your body is like, you know, what like how your skin responds and how your skin acts is like so true. The other thing that's been kind of funny to deal with at 28, because this is literally like so new, so new. It was never something I had to deal with before, but hormonal breakouts. Ladies, I literally, this never happened before. It's only been within like, I want to say like within my 28th year that this has happened. But when it's my time of the month, once every month, I will have a little breakout on my face, and it's always different. It's always in a different spot. It's always like, it's never predictable, which is kind of hilarious because Like, it's just so funny. Every month, like, things are going, like, you know, just normal, just regular, and then all of a sudden I'll see a little spot and I'll be like, oh, okay, it's that time of the month. But the kind of annoying thing is that, like, it always tends to leave scarring. Now, I don't pick it, I don't, like, scrape at it or anything, but it always leaves a little bit of, like, a dark spot once, you know, once it's gone. And the dark spot goes away, which is fine, and, like, I just leave it because, you know, I feel like you can't get too stressed out about any of these things, because at the end of the day, like, whatever, it's just skin, and, like, there are bigger issues. But I find that, like, it takes a few months, but for the most part it tends to go away and it's fine. It's just such a funny thing that, like, it like literally never happened to me before. This was, like, never a thing, and then, like, almost out of nowhere, it was like, oh, you're 28, okay, cool, like, now once a month you're gonna start getting a spot on your face. So yeah, I feel like those are my, like, big issues at 28, or, like, I shouldn't say, like, my big issues, but yeah, that's sort of, like, my skin story during, like, this year is, you know, the dehydration, dry skin, hyperpigmentation, sun damage, the little fine lines and wrinkles, the dark circles around my eyes, and the hormonal breakouts, which, you know, sounds like a grocery list of things, and does, when I say it all at once, sounds like a little scary. But everyone's skin is different, and I kind of feel like what I'm doing now works, and, like, I'm doing a good job of, like, maintaining all of those things. And at the end of the day, like, every year we get a little bit older, and, like, you know, like, if your skin issues are, like, the least of your, like, if that's your biggest concern, then, you know, you're doing pretty well. Anyway, again, like what I said before, like, there's no, like, one product in particular that I use that I, like, you know, swear by. I do tend to use a couple different products. I do love Kate Somerville. I've used quite a few of her products, and I really love her Age Defense, I think it's called. It's either called, like, anti-aging or Age Defense. Her, like, Age Defense line is really fantastic and very moisturizing, and I know she has, like, a specific hydration line. I haven't tried that out yet. But, you know, sometimes I use Kate Somerville. I used the Sunday Riley Good Jeans for a little while, and it was okay. I think it was a little harsh on my face. It's funny, like, my face can take a lot, and I feel like it is quite tolerant, but at the same time, I feel like I do need to be careful. And again, like, I tend to use a bunch of different products. I started using this toner from No. 7 from Target, so, like, for me, like, as long as, you know, like, I like to try different things, and, like, that's a passion of mine. I like to try different products. So, like, whatever, you know, it is exciting when something works, and when something doesn't, it doesn't. I guess just for me, like, now I just have to pay, like, a lot more attention to, like, I don't really gravitate toward, like, products for normal skin, or, like, obviously not oily, but, like, I'll definitely use products for dry skin. And some of the tips, I guess, you know, it's funny, like, my biggest tip would be to wear SPF, which, you know, like, I've known forever. Like, my mom used to tell me that all the time when I was a kid, and it's just like, you know, you have a little bit of a lapse in judgment and you end up with sun damage. So yeah, I would say, like, 100% wear SPF no matter, like, where you live, what you're doing. Like, it's so important. Stay hydrated. Like, I feel like that goes without saying, and it's kind of like, you know, you want glowing, gorgeous, healthy looking skin, and you have to, like, eat well too and exercise. And yeah, that's my skin story for the most part. I'll show you a little bit of, I don't know if you can see, like, there's the hyperpigmentation. It's funny, like, it's sort of settled into, like, the hollow of, like, where I would normally contour, which sounds like it should be ideal in terms of, like, oh great, like, you have sort of, like, you know, a map on your face of where exactly you should contour, and it probably goes away, and it does a little bit, like, when I put on bronzer and stuff, but it is, you know, it's a little bit annoying because it does, like, sort of muddy up that area. So I don't tend to use, like, I'll use a bronzer, but I won't really use, like, a contour powder exactly, because it just sort of, like, it makes this whole area seem, I don't know, kind of, like, muddy looking and a little, like, too dark, you know? So anyway, that's some hyperpigmentation, and then you can see there too is definitely, like, a bit of that sun damage. And then on this side too, you can see there, and then you can see here, like, a little bit, some lines, like expression lines, and I guess, like, I deal with a little bit of redness now, but I just feel like that's, like, mostly from being hot, you know? I live in Florida. And then, yeah, like, some lines on my forehead, and you can see my dark circles, whatever. This is such a fun video for me to make. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know, like, one of the skin, I mean, I want to say issues, but maybe something that you kind of deal with. If you have super dry skin like me, please, please, please let me know like what your like to die for product is, or some product that like really helps out your skin, because I'm always looking for like another or like a new product that'll help with the dryness and the dehydration or fine lines, or if you're dealing with sun damage like me, please let me know. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you really soon. Bye.